The topics given to me. Uh, the first topic is about critical analysis of extension systems of SAR countries, BRICS countries, and other selected countries as per your syllabus, including USA, UK, Japan, Philippines, Israel. So I'll be restricting my talk on these countries only. I'll exclude India also because you might be studying, means someone definitely must have delivered a lecture on that. And probably since you are students of extension, you already have a better idea of that. So here two things are important when we study the extension systems of different countries. One important thing is history, other is geography. You'll see that if you have some idea about a country's history, it is very easy to understand the kind of extension they have. Moreover, if you know about their geography, like their means they have a coastline or not, they are islands or not, that kind of information is very useful in understanding the agriculture there and definitely the extension system. So, so I'll move on to the first. Let's cover SAARC countries first. So SAARC is the South Asian Association of Regional Cooperation. Means India and its neighboring countries, including Afghanistan,
Sir,
Bhutan.
is not moved.
I'll put off my video best way so that internet will be better. Now, can you see SAARC?
No, sir. Slide is not moved, sir.
It has not moved. Okay, I'll try once again. I don't know what happened. Okay, is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Okay, thank you. So let's see about SAARC countries. The SAARC Agriculture Center is in Dhaka, Bangladesh. That is an important thing to remember. So first we'll look at the extension system in Bangladesh. As you know, Bangladesh was once a part of India. So the Department of Agriculture, that time it was started in 1870, but it was a part of Department of Revenue, and full-fledged department came into being in 1906, where different institutes like one in IRA and Lialpur, Pakistan, they all were started. So here important thing to notice was they had this jute regulation department, which was later transferred to agriculture department. Since this is that Sundarban area, so jute is a major crop there. So it has a very big role to play in extension also. In Bangladesh, they have different levels like block, upzila, district, regional, and national level. For us, for many of our programs, the major unit of extension is block, whereas in Bangladesh, it is upzila, the basic unit of planning and implementing and other things for local extension programs, public. So these are some of the organizations that were created for extension in Bangladesh. You can see particularly after this 1974, means Bangladesh came into being in 1971, and after that the major change has come up there. First came the Directorate of Agriculture, which was specifically for jute production, then horticulture, tobacco, and other things. Important change happened here in 1982, where the merger of 6 departments, this Department of Agriculture Extension, Agriculture, then the jute production, plant protection, they all were merged into one department named Department of Agricultural Extension. Then same as India, they also had TNV system. Moreover, the society there, culture there is similar to us. So whatever reasons for failures of this TNV system and how it operated, they are all the same in be it Bangladesh or be it India or be it Pakistan. They are similar. So you now have a broader vision of extension in Bangladesh, how it happened in 1975 and this TNV era, you can say. Then they had this revised extension approach, which was mostly demand driven and relied on clients. Then they had different plans, just like us. We had different programs were introduced in India. Same way, they also had different programs. And finally, during 2002 to this 6, they had this new extension, agricultural extension policy. So just like us, they also had this evolutionary process from generalized extension to commodity to 2NV and finally this partnership approach. Now moving on to Bhutan. Important thing about Bhutan is they have huge forest area, means percent wise if you see the other land and forest area. So they have this renewable natural resource extension system, which is and moreover it is under the Ministry of Agriculture and Forest. They don't have separate agriculture. Their forest is an important component. So it works at 4 levels: national, regional, and I don't know how to pronounce this, but Jongkhag, let's say district, and this blocks. So these two terms you can remember as far as exams are concerned. Like maybe in bits, multiple choice questions, you may be asked about this. And this frontline extension staff was based in these blocks and districts. Then in 1980s, they started decentralization, and this district level was the main unit for them. Then they also had this national extension policy in 1995. This is the structure. They have this district level. Okay, they had this sector heads in district level, then this JOG, which is block level, and field. Now moving on to Nepal. Here are certain terms I have put in bold, and that only I'm going to highlight here. One is this Tribhuvan Village Development Program, and again, something that you can remember for multiple choice questions. It came in 1953, and in this they had zonal agriculture development offices, and then at district level and then at field level. So important thing was that they had junior technicians and junior technical assistants here, which were the actual extension workers in field. So mostly it was trickle down only. Here one thing to remember is this two key approach, you can say. Another important for multiple choice question, where these are the para extension workers who are particularly trained to provide extension service to farmers. This is their two key extension system, where they have at national level ministry, then it comes down to district, and then agriculture service center, and then farmers group. Now moving on to Pakistan, same shares history with us. Moreover, you know, there since it was part of India earlier, we have states, so they have province. So they still have that terminology, provinces. So in 1962, they started this Department of Agricultural Extension at provincial level. Okay, this is their level of working actually. Then they had this other things, universities and all, as I have mentioned, this Layalpur College. So majorly responsible person for extension is Provincial Secretary of Agriculture. Or we can say for if you compare to our system, then it is at state level. For us also, agriculture is a state subject, so state is mainly responsible for extension. They have this Director General of Agriculture Extension, who is the overall administration, looks after overall administration. Then they have different systems and different programs over the years. Now, just like us, they also had integrated rural development program in early 70s. And then similarly, they also had this training and visit system. It again failed as soon as the World Bank funding was withdrawn, just like India. Reasons were exactly the same, because we share same culture, same feelings about things. We can say that we share same history. So obviously we were supposed to react to those things similarly. So there also, just like India, they have public sector extension, private, civil society, and university supported also. This is just, you can go through it at some time. This is nothing important to remember as such. I'll be focusing particularly looking at the exams. So I'm not going to into detail, but this material will be shared with you, so you can go through this anytime. Again, moving on to Sri Lanka, this is an island nation. So definitely coastal agriculture and these things are more important. Fishery is more important to them. So if you look at the history, in Sri Lanka, this extension effort started by Dutch regime in 17th century. Then came Britishers, and in 1880, agricultural instructors with 2-year training in agriculture were posted. This you can remember for multiple choice question. Then they had this Ceylon Agricultural Society established, were mostly planters because plantation crops are more, and these agricultures were members. British introduced botanical gardens to promote tea, coffee, and rubber cultivation. It's a tropical country, so the obvious tea, coffee, and rubber are main crops there. Further, these botanical gardens were developed as Department of Agriculture and to cater plantation sector particularly. Then the Sri Lanka got independence in 1948. So more than exporting, they started putting effort on feeding their own people. Like more attention was given to rice. And presently the extension approach is top down only, and mostly it is commodity driven because main component is plantation crops there. This is the structure there at national and up to ground level. Here one important thing is this Krushi Vyapti Sevaks and agriculture instructor. These two terminologies you can remember as far as multiple choice questions are concerned. If you can be asked about these terminologies are some para extension workers in which country, that way. Just like 2 key approach, here they have Krishi Vyapti Sevaks. Then moving on to Maldives, again an island nation. So their major focus is on fisheries. So they have this agriculture and forestry division under Ministry of Fisheries and Agriculture, which mainly looks after agricultural extension. They have 6 main sections. You can see here, agriculture training and extension is a separate one, and agribusiness is separate section under the division. Then moving on to Afghanistan, it has a long history of violence and all, you can say, because just like we also again share some history with them. So, and moreover the Britishers were there, so they also introduced the same things there. But then this US aid, particularly US aid, they have sponsored research and extension organizations and agencies in Afghanistan. They also had this training and visit system. It survived till World Bank support was there. Then this under USAID scholarships, they had American Peace Corps volunteers. This thing you can remember because they were like extension agents, working as extension agents, and they functioned as community mobilizers. So King was ousted in 1973. Then the communist regime came. So as communism goes, nothing belongs to a person but to a state. So they had the state farms and farmers cooperatives established. Soviet Union occupied Afghanistan, and they had this problem with poppy cultivation because it's a major crop there. Then came Taliban in 96, where definitely, since it was not a democratic regime, the extension efforts were dismantled. Extension system itself was dismantled. Then again came US invasion, and after that they started this MAIL, Ministry of Agriculture, Irrigation and Livestock, which mainly looked after extension also. And this MAIL was now implementing National Agriculture Development Framework in 2009. Then they established this CARD, Comprehensive Agriculture and Rural Development Facility there. It was the, as I said, it had the primary responsibility of providing extension services. Since Afghanistan has been troubled for a long time, no private companies have developed their or established their extension system in Afghanistan, whereas some companies like in bits and pieces they are working there. They were working. Mostly the NGOs have been working there, mostly US funded. And no cooperatives, means no efforts have been made to organize cooperatives. And presently, again Taliban invasion came, so I'm expecting that all the efforts made by USAID are now again dismantled. Then moving on to BRICS countries, which include Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. First, let's have a look at Brazil. Again, it's a huge country, even bigger than India, and it has a coastline also. They have their own issues. They had this decentralized model for rural extension, where they had this state and federal funds were provided. Then farmers organizations were also there. But slowly what happened around 1980s is federal government started reducing funds, and many this Brazilian national rural extension was completely closed. Even this Embrater, this term you can remember, it is technical assistant cooperation, that was also closed. So wherever this extension systems which were running on state funds, only they could survive. So later they started promoting mostly agribusinesses for sustainable agriculture and natural resource management. They saw a re-emergence in 2001 of public rural extension services, but it was only on papers, mostly in policies, but it was never fully implemented. But the situation has changed a little bit. Now the state agencies provide funds to civil organizations, NGOs, farmers associations, so that they can provide extension services free of charge to the farmers and whoever requires it. So this is how it goes in Brazil. Then they started strengthening this educational aspect of rural extension as well. Now they have 25 state agencies which provide extension service. Here you can remember this, that now it is completely state agencies providing extension service, not a national agency anywhere, because they have stopped all the fundings. Moreover, another thing is agricultural universities provide very little extension as such. And they have this National Agricultural Institute also, but also means again it has a very small role in providing extension services in Brazil. Here it is mostly like whatever is demand driven is provided by means farmers themselves try to get those services. Otherwise, government is mainly focused on supply driven initiatives like agroecology and environmental education, these things. So they had this two public institutions, Ministry of Agrarian Development and Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Supply at the topmost public institutions responsible for rural extension. But again, they have this confusion. You can see the names, agrarian development, and next is agriculture. So even we would get confused. And there also there is a great confusion between the responsibilities of two of these ministries. So because of that also the extension system is not working to the fullest potential there. Now moving on to Russia, again, it's a big state. They had this socialism. So again, the farms property didn't belong to a one person but to a state. So earlier, like before the disintegration of USSR, they had this collectivization policy of land and livestock and almost everything else. So they converted into state operated large size collective farms where farmers worked as wage laborers. And the state would decide what they are going to grow, when they are going to grow, how much they are going to grow. And but since that scale comes into play, they had very good agricultural production there. Moreover, these farms were run by multidisciplinary team of agriculture specialists. So it was not a democratic model, but still it performed really well. Then they organized this contract brigades also. This word you can remember maybe for multiple choice questions if they ask, where they 10 to 30 farm workers were used to collectively manage a piece of land on lease given by the government. And based on the yield, their remuneration was decided. Now, moving on, rise of Russia in 1991, they had this land reforms. Private household ownership came into being, which was earlier only state ownership. And they started this information consulting service under Ministry of Agriculture. And different programs also they started, like this farmer to farmer program. Now their public extension is mainly looked after by Ministry of Agriculture of the Russian Federation. They have this division of sustainable agriculture extension service to look after it. They don't have well established private extension service or advisory service at all. And they have these small NGOs and farm based associations or cooperatives working there, but they are not involved in extension as such. Now moving on to China, again a huge country, and it's a communist country. So again, everything state decides mostly. So as early as 1924, this first extension station was started in China. Then they had this first law on extension in 1929. The same year we had ICR established. Then this thing you can remember, they have this agricultural technology extension system when means after the independence of People's Republic of China. And they have this county level demonstration farms. This is another important thing. They have this county level. We don't have this in our terminology. So this you can remember, county level demonstration farms. So if you look at their early efforts, like from their independence, there were different programs started. They tried different extension methodologies there. So now if you look, they have this agricultural technology extension system, which works at 5 administrative levels: national, provincial. Provincial means our state level, then city, county, and township. Here, these two terms are very important: county and township, because they are the basis of grassroots extension system here. And again, private sector has no role in advisory services. It is all reserved to public sector only. Then moving on to South Africa, again, it was British colony once. They had this white and black issues. So you will see the impact here also. They have public institution and not public institutions involved in agriculture extension, same as ours, like NGOs, private sector, and this government, and just like ours, ICR, they have this Agricultural Research Council. Okay. So in 1910, they got independent status of dominion from British Commonwealth. And extension system in South Africa started in 1925 as such. Here you can see they had this compartmentalized services. This you can remember, and this is very easy to remember because they had this separate service for white and separate for black, Indian, or colored communities. So they had this compartmentalized services. Then in 1994, all these services were merged into one extension service. So, like if you see 2005 data, the ratio of extension to commercial farmers was 1:21. Look at here, this is commercial farmer, okay, not every farmer, but it is 1:2 around 800-900 for subsistence farmer also. So it is much better than India. Again, you have to look at these extension systems in a perspective. If you are asked about comparison in means for long answer questions, if you get a question like differentiate between Indian or American or South African, then you should be able to mention few of these things and give your opinion, which one is better, which one you find better. That way you have to develop that kind of opinion also. So moving on to USA, again here one important thing to notice is they have cooperative extension system. We already studied during graduation itself. So cooperative means it's a cooperation between federal government, under which this USDA looks after agriculture, and at then they have the state level, and then they have local or county level. So the cooperation between three units acts as a cooperative extension system. Again, it is this administered by land grant university system. We already know even the universities in India were started on this system only.
Sir, federal USDA, sir.
Hello?
Sir, federal USDA, sir.
Yes, USDA, United States Department of Agriculture. What happened?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So moving on, their focus is on agriculture, home economics, and 4-H club. You also, you must have studied about 4-H clubs also. So let's have a look at these laws in US. These are important because they led to establishment of research and extension system that is existing right now in USA. So we study this in extension also. The first is Morrill Act. One was in 1862 and the other one was in 1890, which led to establishment of one institution in each state, which would look after agriculture and this other departments. Then, so basically, it was about establishing an institution. Then came the Hatch Act 1887, which created agricultural experimentation programs in these land grant institutions. And the federal funds were given to the states. So this funding is another important thing. And this station program they started, this is another important thing about the Hatch Act. And this Hatch Act acts as a bridge between the Morrill Act and the Smith-Lever Act, which we are going to see ahead. Before that, I would like to mention that in 1903, they started this farm demonstration works. You might remember this name, Dr. Seaman Knapp. In few books, I have read his name as father of method demonstration also. I'm not sure, but I have read it as such. So you can also remember this name, Dr. Seaman Knapp, who started demonstration programs on cotton. Then came the Smith-Lever Act, which particularly established the National Cooperative Extension System. Means earlier it was about education, now we came to extension system. So this is how these three acts worked. First was focused on institution, means teaching, Morrill Act. Then came the Hatch Act, which focused on research, and then came Smith-Lever Act, which focused on extension. So the three dimensions of agricultural mechanism in a country, you can say, was established with these three acts. Then you must have read about 4-H clubs also. They are also very important part of agriculture extension system in USA. Now looking at organizational structure, they have this USDA at federal level or national level. Then at state level, they have land grant universities. And at local level, they have county extension office. So this is the basic unit of extension service in USA. Then if you look at the personnel, at national level, they have this federal director, then state. Now here important thing to notice is county agent and county extension council. These are the this is the actual extension mechanism at grassroots level there. These agents, they reach farmers through groups and clubs. And this council is a body of one man and one woman from each township in a county, so that they can pass on the information to the entire county. Now, let's see the uniqueness of this model or this type of extension system. So the main extension function, it remains with university, although it is cooperative at federal, state and county level, but main function remains with university, the land grant colleges. Then they have this diversified teaching and learning environment, because they not only focus on agriculture, but allied activities also. Then here, most important thing what I felt was their user oriented research. Whatever research they do, like in extension departments in these universities and colleges also, they have like two entomologists, two pathologists. That way they connect with farmers. Means the pathologists and entomologists, they go to villages. They don't have a separate person for extension who simply looks after extension. So that link between academic education and field practice is really good in USA. Now moving on to United Kingdom. It consists of 4 countries basically, and there the main purpose of state extension earlier was only increasing food production, which had this agricultural department and advisory services. In 1997, it got privatized, so state funding was stopped, and they moved from commercialization to partial privatization basically. Again, important change was that the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Food, became Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. You can see the shift from importance of agriculture to other things. Means as such, agriculture was not important to them, but food became important. And environment, obviously. This research council, they also reduced their research institutes, and the training board was also disbanded. So basically what happened in UK or England, you can say, as such, was that there was a diversification in providers from private and NGOs. Means the government support reduced, so mostly it was means it is dependent on private players and NGOs. And the research institute, they also get more funding from these organizations so that they can do field specific or demand driven research. Now moving on to Japan, again an island country, so fisheries is more important. Extension work started by farmers organization. Here it is important to note, you can note this thing particularly, that extension was not started by the government as such, but by the farmers organizations, and later it was taken up by government. At present, they follow this American pattern, because after this World War II, they had more influence of USA, and they have this complete separation of regulatory and service duties from educational aspect of extension. Then prominence of home improvement. You must have noticed that in US model also they had home economics. So here also they started focusing on home improvement. Then they had this joint financing by national and provincial government, similar on pattern of USA. This is the pattern. They have this national level where they have this extension division and women and life division. Then comes the prefectural level where they have this council and directorate, and later it goes on to agricultural centers at local level. Whereas at national level, if you see, they have this Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries. Fisheries again becomes important here. So as I have already mentioned, this is at national, then prefectural level. Okay. Important is this local level in Japan, where the extension work is organized for an area. Here area means it covers around 3,000 families or up to 7,000 acres of land. So this is basically the unit of extension here. And they have this concept of village local leaders also, who are basically the para extension workers. So again, this national government here does not offer extension service as such, but it goes on at prefectural level. Funding is national, but service is at prefectural level. They have this extension information center established in 1998. Moreover, they had this computer network system, extension information network, or EINet. This you can remember for multiple choice questions. Now let's see the key features of this system. They have high literacy, so extension works much better there through Department of Agriculture, whereas they don't have direct links with these research organizations. Then that link comes at prefectural level. Extension is done by a team of farm advisors, and these local bodies have a very little control over extension. Now moving on to Philippines, again an island nation in the Pacific. So I don't know how to read this Granjas Modulos. Okay, let's call it model farms itself. This Spanish missionaries established. Now here important to remember is uh, it became in later part the settlement farm schools. Then they had this division of demonstration and extension service established in 1910, and they established provincial extension service in 1936. Now they have this Bureau of Agriculture Extension in 1952, and later this BAX became Commission on Agricultural Productivity. So here this local government units are more important because they are the responsible ones for extension in Philippines, and they have, just like India, they have pluralistic pattern of extension where different public institutions and private organizations provide services. Now let's have a look at Israel. You know, Israel earlier they had this Ottoman Empire, then Britishers came, then after World War II, large means many Jews shifted from Germany and many other countries to this area. So they started this field school in 1870 by Ottoman Empire, but this is not that important. We can skip this part if you want to. Here important thing is, after British accession of Israel, they started this Jewish agency settlement department. Moreover, this Jews moved from Germany and other countries to this place to establish their own countries. So this settlement department was very much important there. You might remember these pictures. They are very much popular, and this is called kibbutz. This term you'll have to remember when it comes to Israel. Kibbutz is nothing but a collective community based on agrarian settlement. You can see this living pattern here, and these are the farms, and there was this cooperative farming. So this was after Israel came into being in 1948, where this Ministry of Agriculture began extension service. And they had this settlement department also, as I have already mentioned. Then in 1960, these two departments were merged and the Unified Extension Authority was formed. Then they had this extension professional service and extension Israeli extension service, which is present till today. And definitely they had this US influence more. They got funding and they got technical support from USDA and Netherlands also. So their main focus was on farm visits, and they had this very good ties with research. We all know the research in Israel. They have very limited land, very limited water, but still they are one of the best in productions or productivity, I would say. Here they had this bottom-up planning where farmers are full-time partners in planning of extension. And this Israeli Extension Service is basically a semi-independent unit with Israeli Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. They have this Joint Center for Agricultural Extension, which is mainly responsible for extension service. And under this, the main sections of the centers are this publication division, audiovisual, home economics. Again, home economics comes here because of US influence. So what is unique about Israel Extension Service is that they have this close cooperation with extension and research. Then they have two-way flow of information. Then application oriented research. Actually, what I feel is this is more important, that they have application oriented research and development in Israel. So automatically when it is application oriented, extension becomes much easier. So here I'll stop for a minute. This was about critical analysis of extension systems of SAR, BRICS, and other related countries. In a minute, I'll start my another presentation. I'll just take 2 minutes break, please.
Okay.
Sir, please take 2 or 3 minutes break and then we can start again.
Simple things करना, nobody.
Sir. Sir.
So students, you can see that whatever I was talking about, it was more of information, rather it was information only. There are no concepts as such. Only concepts that you can apply is if you know a little bit of the history of those countries and little bit of geography of those countries. Otherwise, as such, there are no concepts. There are only facts to remember. That's why I didn't go on reading each and everything. I just focused on few points that I felt that can be asked in an exam, be it multiple choice question or any long answer question. So what I would suggest is you just, I have shared my presentation and this write-up with the organizers. You can simply go through it maybe once, because very few questions are asked on this area. So probably you don't want to give your time on this topic. But when you go through, you simply look at how it is different than Indian extension or how it is similar to Indian extension, so that you have an opinion about it, and if a question comes, you will be able to write.
Sir, may I ask one question, sir?
Yes, go on, please.
Sir, what is prefectural level, sir?
See, it's just a terminology. Just like we have state in India, they have this prefectural levels. I said national level, prefectural level, and local level. The same we have in India is national level, state level, district level, then block level. It is just the same. It's just a terminology. There is no concept as such.
Sir, which year, sir, start farmer organization, sir, in Japan?
Even I don't know that. I'll have to refer. But I don't think that is important.
Yes, sir.
It is not important to know each and every year what, when, where, what it started. Okay. If you simply have an idea, okay, this is the country, this is how agriculture works there. So accordingly, what kind of extension they might have. And if you read this, you will get that idea what kind of extension they have. So it will become easier for you to remember what are the things. There is no need to go into this many facts, okay, that which year what started, then next year what happened, then next year what happened.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir, I'll begin with the next topic. I have already taken 1 hour for one topic, but the next topic I'll try to limit myself to very less time and very few words I'll be using, because again the topic I'm going to cover has more of facts and no concepts as such, but your general understanding, from general understanding you can get few more things. Okay, is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's in slideshow mode, right? Hello, can anyone confirm?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's start then. So the next topic is international cooperation in agriculture, say Commonwealth, FAO, USAID, DFID, and CGIAR system. Again here, just like my previous topic, it's only facts, very few or rather no concepts to remember. So I'll be talking or focusing on few things, particularly looking at multiple choice questions that you may be asked in your exams. So what is SAC? This is SAC is nothing but SARC, Agricultural Information Center. SARC I have told you earlier, South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, and SAC is SARC, Agricultural Information Center. In 2007 itself, it became SARC Agriculture Center. So this information is not there at all. But I don't know why they have not updated our syllabus yet.
Sir,
So,
slide is not moved, sir.
okay, 1 minute. I'll again. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it mainly looks after information management in the field of agriculture and allied disciplines in SARC countries. And the member countries fund this organization. And since it is this SARC is SARC Agriculture Center is located in Dhaka, Bangladesh. The capital cost is the responsibility of Bangladesh government. So this is the organogram of SAC. They have the secretariat, and then then they have this governing body and director, where they majorly look after agriculture management, policy planning, and knowledge management. So these are the objectives. As far as we are concerned, they mainly focus on agriculture research and technology transfer, and they formulate regional policies. Regional means for SAARC countries, you can say. Then they have these collaborative studies also, and collaborative capacity building programs. So they have this is the procedure of how they develop different programs. It has to go through stages, like at country levels they invite participation of stakeholders. Then this SARC technical committee on agricultural and rural development provides broader guidelines, and these proposals are reviewed by governing body. This is how a program is developed in SARC. These are major areas, same like agriculture and livestock and fisheries are the main areas. These are some of the current collaborations they have with Australia, then IRRI, Philippines, then with Sri Lanka. This is it. They don't have much role as such in defining our policy, although we consider SAARC countries as very important countries, but this SAC means SAARC Agriculture Center has very less contribution in defining the policies. Now moving on to Commonwealth, these were the countries under, these were the colonies of United Kingdom. So there are 54 countries and all are considered equal. And they have this secretariat and then foundation and learning, 3 organizations under Commonwealth. And they have fund for technical cooperation, which is our major concern because which helps in agricultural research. So they have this environment program also. And there is one Royal Agricultural Society of Commonwealth, which looks after interchange of ideas and information and views on different issues related to agriculture, fisheries, and other sectors. So moving on to Food and Agricultural Organization of UN, established in 1945, headquarters is in Rome. More than 130 countries are member of this. So it is directed by the Conference of Member Nations, which meets every 2 years. Okay, and they have this 8 departments: agriculture and consumer protection, climate, biodiversity, land and water department, and other departments. So these are the areas where they are focused on to eliminate hunger mainly, which was also a Millennium Development Goal. Then they also work on making agriculture and allied sectors more productive and sustainable, then reducing poverty and inclusive and efficient agriculture and food systems. So under FAO, they had different programs. I'll be going to talk about very few. You may note down this because these are important. One is like Codex Alimentarius Commission of 1961, which develops food standards and guidelines for different products. Then they had in 1996 this World Food Summit, which actually established the goal of having number of people who suffer from hunger by 2015. That was the Millennium Development, one of the Millennium Development Goal. Then they started having this FAO Goodwill Ambassadors from 1999, just like UN Peace Ambassadors. They have this Goodwill Ambassadors. Then Right to Food Guidelines in 2004. So they started offering policy guidelines or help to the countries in formulating policy on right to food. Then they also give this they invest in agriculture, but these are mostly in African countries, these investments, not in India as such. So moving on to next, USAID, that is United States Agency for International Development. It's for civilian aid. There are different purposes for this aid. One important one is technical cooperation on global issues, including environment. So this is where agriculture comes into play. Their major focus is not on agriculture, but other things are there where agriculture comes into play. So like they provide technical assistance, where they give technical advice, training, scholarship, construction, and commodities. Again, it is mainly focused on underdeveloped countries, particularly in Africa. They provide financial assistance also, as we have already seen. They work nicely in Afghanistan also, they were working. Then they had this Feed the Future program, where it was like America's initiative to combat global hunger through this USAID, which focused on improving agricultural productivity and increasing the efficiency of markets and creating new opportunities in agriculture and allied sector. Again, same through exchange of ideas and technologies. So basically the technology transfer aspect was also there. And they also provided food assistance. This was mainly in African countries. Then USAID in agriculture development, if you see what role do they have? Our means points important to us are that they mobilize science and technology, and they are also into agricultural education and training, and they are also involved in other aspects like managing market performance, then financing farmers and food systems. Now moving on to DFID, that is Department for International Development. Just like USAID, this is UKAID, that is from United Kingdom. So again, the same thing, their goal was sustainable development and eliminate world poverty. So the thing was that this was headed by UK Secretary of State for International Development. They had this separate secretary for that. They worked in education, health, water supply, sanitation, and all this. Moreover, they had this research and environment protection where agriculture comes into play. But in 2020, they have merged this foreign office with this DFID, and now they have found foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. So again, their mission was to halve the number of people living in extreme poverty and hunger. And just like other UN's 8 Millennium Development Goals. So if you look at their research contribution, they launched their first research strategy in April 2008. And they started funding research. Their major areas of focus were growth, health, sustainable agriculture, climate change, etc. They also funded capacity building programs, research communications and uptake. And okay, then coming on to CGIAR, that is Consultative Group for International Agricultural Research. This is more important for us because we are very much involved in this. Means our means research system, if you see agriculture research system, we are much more connected to this CGIAR than any other previously mentioned organizations. So this is about the CGIAR is about global partnership to unite international organizations in research. So these are their strategic objectives, just like other organizations, big ones, removing poverty, ensuring food security and all. And these are the funding members, means countries which fund this CGIAR system. These are some of the centers you might already know, like ICRISAT we have in Hyderabad. Then you might have heard about IFRI. It is mainly located in Washington, United States, but it also has center in India, which is in Delhi, NAS complex. Then this International Livestock Research Institute is in Kenya. Then Water Management Institute in Sri Lanka, World Agroforestry Center, Kenya, and then Fish Center in Malaysia. So you can see they have presence throughout the world, be it any continent like Africa, Asia, or South America. Their research programs are mostly multi-center and multi-partner initiatives where they not only involve their own staff, but staff from our like ICAR or state universities also, or even they have cooperation with other NGOs and these kind of organizations. So these are some of the research programs like CCAPS, which is still underway. It is very important program, climate change, agriculture and food security, under which they organize very many programs like different research, then capacity building programs. Similarly, they have that A for NH, that is agriculture for nutrition and health, IFRI, run by IFRI. Then they have this major focus on grain legumes. ICRISAT Hyderabad is lead in this. Now coming on to ICR, as such, this was not the topic included in this, but I also thought means since I didn't know when I was preparing for these exams about this thing, so I thought I'll include this here. So ICR also works through memorandum of understandings and different work plans to have a global connection or global outreach. So far, they have 57 MOUs with different countries and organizations for collaborative research. And they also take part in multilateral cooperations like IPSA, BREAK, SAC, and other organizations. There is they have a very strong collaboration with CG centers and this CABI, which is an NGO, FAO, APARI, so many collaborations are there. And they mainly cover areas like advanced agriculture research and education. So they also provide study visits, training of scientists, exchange of literatures and germplasm. Moreover, capacity building programs are also organized for the scientists of these organizations. These are some of the projects that ICR implemented by getting funds from World Bank, that is NAIP, very well known, and the current one is this National Higher Agricultural Education Projects, which is already underway. These are different fellowships provided by ICR or Department of Agricultural Research and Education, Government of India. And there is a separate division, international relations division in ICR with mandate to go beyond boundaries of the nation in terms of agriculture research and education. So this was all from my side. I know this was a very small topic.